Hello, everybody. It is Digging for Wisdom. We started this thing 16, 17 weeks ago, and this is our final episode of this year. I appreciate you guys joining us every week. That's Professor Diggs. I'm the Wizard. We are talking state championships this week, but there's ain't no way we're going to start with state championships until we discuss last week with the epic games that we saw everywhere and the epic rants that we heard at one place. And I'm going to start with that, if you don't mind, Diggsy.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it.
Exactly. Let's take a look at it.
Somebody said it was the end of an era. Somebody said it was the end of an era. It's just beginning. It's just beginning. You're telling me it's just beginning. That's what it is. We here. We nowhere else. We here. We gonna be a goddamn dynasty. Love these kids. I'm tired of people talking about it. That's all they do. They want to talk about it. Don't stop. Well, guess what? Our kids, they fight. Our coach, they fight. We believe in one another. Nobody can take down a great fair play crowd and stay close. But they forgot about DeSoto. Man, let's thank God that he baby showed everybody else. We're a true team. We're a true team.
It was a rant for the ages by Claude Mathis after the game, and that somebody is sitting right here with us. That somebody that he's referring to is sitting nicely on the couch. He tweeted about 3 or 4 months ago. It's the end of an era after the Georgia loss, and that's been sitting with Coach Mathis for quite some time. And that clip has helped Claude Mathis go viral as hey, nobody's denying the passion he has for the sport, but that's where it's rooted from. I want to know what your reaction was, his reaction to, not saying it's the beginning of a dynasty, not an end of an era.
Yeah, I mean, he gets his victory lap, and that's kind of what you get to do when you prove somebody wrong. I mean, when you go, I think multiple things can be true at the same time. I think truly. This is just truly my analysis. Last year's DeSoto team was better than this year's DeSoto team. And that's just going by the old school. If we're going to do pick 'em, like if we're going to go to the backyard and we're going to pick 22 players and you put last year's 22 players and this year's 22 players together, I think a majority of the team that you pick is going to be from last year's team. I think they're just a better talented team. But this year is a better football team. This year is a better football culture. And I think a lot of that rallying cry starts from the fact that they lost that game to Georgia. That was 2 straight. That hurt them. And, if you go look at a couple of other interviews that Coach Mathis did, he was very direct in saying, we are not going to go far if we're playing like that. And he took accountability for it. And he said, it starts with me. We have to get better. And then Sarad Baker just came out of nowhere as Superman. I mean, the performances that we've seen in the past couple of weeks from Trey Wright and Sarad Baker, it's hard to really encapsulate it. I mean, it's Johnny Manziel, it's Jonathan Gray numbers. I mean, these are next level performances that are the numbers are even better than what they did last year.
Yeah.
What we have seen is just phenomenal. It defies expectations. I can't even really. It's hard to explain because South Lake Carroll was a better football team. My analysis was not wrong on that game. When you go back and kind of look at the way it broke down, DeSoto just found that passion, like that final play, which will live down in infamy. The way they crashed, the way they just gave their bodies up to stop him from making it was just something you'll remember. Those kids wanted it 120%. It's not like South Lake didn't want the game. It was just DeSoto took it to that next level, just the kind of thing that legends are made of.
And if you look at the replay, when they first called it a touchdown, you can see Coach Dodge running up with the 2 fingers up. We're going for 2. So much momentum's on that side. We want nothing to do with overtime. Let's get this thing over with. And then, of course, they made the right call, and it wasn't in. I actually had a guy when I was walking, I was scurrying out to get to my car to get back to Channel 5 because I almost didn't make it for the show. And he's like, go back out there and show them your video. This is a South Lake fan. Show them your video. They need to know. I said, you don't want them to show my video because that shows it's clearly not a touchdown. But let me tell you, let me run the numbers for you. You have them in your head. Let me run the Sarad Baker numbers. And this is just rushing. 1,502 yards, 19 touchdowns in 5 games. A really, really, really good running back does that in a year. A really good running back does it for his high school career. He's doing it in 5 games, and I'm not even touching on the receiving stuff. because he scored several touchdowns that way. 19 touchdowns in 5 games. He's unstoppable. We talk about it every week. It's ridiculous.
And it's not like, we talk about regular season numbers. Yeah, you're getting to play a Mesquite Horn or a Skyline. Yes. These are elite level teams. This is College Park, which you said is the top 5 team in the Houston area. Yeah. Willis, we've talked about their talent. I mean, these are
a good defense in Southlake. A good defense in Southlake.
Absolutely.
The other ones may not have good defenses. This one does.
And now, the one thing I keep hearing about King, and we'll kind of get into it more, is that their defense is not great. Yeah. Their offense is great. So who knows what numbers we're going to see. But Sherrod Baker, MVP, we kind of said it about 15 weeks ago, it felt like. When DeSoto started turning it on, it started with him. And everybody kind of followed suit. And I love the story. I am so proud of DeSoto. I don't have hate in my heart. I don't have like, oh man, I can't believe it. This has been a fun story to watch. They proved me wrong, and it's been one of their storylines, one of many storylines. I'm not taking credit by any means for it. And the storylines, and another storyline I think is an unsung hero is Ethan Feaster.
Yeah,
I mean, the sacrifice he makes to go play on defense, and he's putting it all on the line on the defensive side of the ball too. He is flying around. I heard
you didn't see Brock Boyd do anything. Yeah, no. He didn't do anything that he's used to doing, and that's because the other number one was Garden.
Yeah, and it's just he is locking down that side of the field. He is basically kind of like what Crease Hoyes is doing. The team play, the unselfishness that we're seeing right now in some of these teams that have made it to the state championship, you just don't see it. And, there are several teams in the past that we have seen. Denton Ryan comes to mind about 4 or 5 years ago. That talent. The talent is there, but that unselfishness is not there. There's things in the room that are keeping them from achieving their potential. Not in DeSoto, not at Frisco Lone Star. There's love, there's respect, there's unselfishness. It is incredible what we're seeing, and I tip my hat. And Coach Mathis is the leader of that, and he deserves all of the flowers for what he has done to generate a team that lost by 42 points the first week of the year, and then lost to North Crowley the next week. After losing last year by 33 points or whatever, I think it was 50-17, they have turned that into a team that will be playing for a state championship. Just absolutely phenomenal job.
I'm going to say one more thing about Claude, because he is a friend of the show. Me and him get along quite well. We only bring this up because obviously somebody was referred to you. That outburst you saw, full of passion, full of all that happens 4 to 5 times on the sidelines to a ref, to his own team. It's what fuels him. And I'll never knock Claude as a person. I mean, heck, to open up the curtain, he's the only coach in the Metroplex, and nobody has to do this. He's the only coach that calls me each and every signing day to tell me which one of his players are signing and where I can find them if I need them. Nobody else does. I'd have to search that out for everybody else. And they don't need to, but he does. He doesn't need to either. He does. He's there for those players, and he's got a Coach of the Year bobblehead sitting there. I don't just give it to him because you're a heck of a guy or these outbursts intimidate me. Here, take this. Maybe I can be on your good side. It's because he deserves it. When the chips are down and everybody's against him, that's the fuel that he uses to make his team play maybe better. Like you said, you didn't think this was their best athletic team, but it's their best team. Get them to play more than that. So as much as I don't need to see all that, if that's what fuels you, and if you need the back against the wall, if you need to hang on to something that happened 4 months ago to get your team extra motivated, that's the world he lives in. If I did that, I'd be in a grave right now because I have trouble with the old heart just yelling at these kids every day. But he's got 50, 60 kids he's got to scream at, plus some refs, and then a low-life named Diggs over there saying all sorts of nonsense. He's got to get at you, too.
Hey, I can cut a wrestling promo on you, too. We can talk about hard times. I could, I am the pick-stealing, wheeling, dealing. I can go flare on you too. I can go
limo riding.
I can get the alligator boots going on, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love Coach Mathis's passion, and you can see like somebody, people out there are like, "Oh, that's rage," and no, that's love. That's his passion because you can see he turned it off. Like at the end, it's like and then he turned it off.
It right back down.
He brought it right back down because that's just his heart. He's got a big heart. I'm completely okay with that.
I would have an exploded heart if I was like that, but. I also eat way more than he does too, and he's locked in from game time. Like I said, we talk on the phone whenever we need to talk to each other about whatever. but pregame, pre and post, he'll act like he doesn't even know me. And that's just because he's locked in, and that's the way it is. Locked in guy. So let's start with that game. I mean, we're going to start with games. Let's start with 6A Division II. You brought it up. You usually ask me from my Houston point of view, and that's what it is. It's a bunch of you'll see track stars in these 6A games. You'll probably see track stars throughout the whole Saturday lineup because there is speed upon speed upon speed on CE King. You mentioned their quarterback Potts. They got Deion Sims. They got my guy Dylan Mitchell, who's just a sophomore. He's got 10.17 100-meter dash speed. It's incredible, and they don't have the defense. They don't have the defense that's going to stop Sherrod Baker. And when they can look at that film all day, but until you see him juking around the background and realize you're not going to in the backfield, realize you're not going to bring him down, you don't really know what you're going up against.
One thing that I just can't do, and this has been my high school football career, and I don't really apologize for it, is I don't understand recruiting because, Sherrod Baker is a 3-star, that means that there's 200 running backs in the nation that are better than him. Where are they? What are they doing? Like, where are these running backs right now that are incredible? These 4 stars and 5 stars. Sherrod Baker has football instinct. Sherrod Baker knows how to hit the hole. Sherrod Baker knows how to go left and right, lateral movement. He knows how to accelerate. I got tagged on a thing that I retweeted on Twitter. You can go see it from Sunday, where like his top speed was 20 miles an hour on that 99-yard run where he broke it at the end of he's got everything you could want, but like analytics and this and that. I mean, I don't know what you could want in a football player other than Sherrod Baker. He was unselfish. When they needed him to be quarterback, he played quarterback. If they needed him to be linebacker, he played linebacker right now. He is just doing whatever this team needs. And when you've got players like that, when you've got Ethan Feaster who will go play DB, he'll play linebacker. If you need him to be defensive lineman, he will rush he'll rush if he needs to. They are all bought in right now, and they are playing at a level that is just incredible. I'm not going to bet against them because of that. CE King is good enough to beat DeSoto. I mean, if we put CE King's attributes on a Madden team and we put DeSoto's attributes on a Madden team, CE King might be a favorite. But you know what? Southlake, in that same vein, was a 2-score favorite. And DeSoto's already beat them by 2 scores. CE King, I don't know if we're going to get an epic Summer Creek looking up at the screen in the first quarter because the game is over like we got a couple of years ago. But this DeSoto team is so dialed in.
I would be surprised if that game doesn't last. It doesn't get into the 40s, both teams, at least 40s. After that, it's any man's guess there. But we're going to see an offensive showcase that we haven't seen in a while. So it should be fun. Do you want to talk about 6A Division I? Let's talk 6A Division I.
Let's talk about, and again, DeSoto still got to execute because I thought South Oak Cliff was the better team last year against Randle. If you have 3 turnovers, you let them score a couple of special teams touchdowns. Yeah, CE King is definitely good enough to win this game, but DeSoto's just special.
They're special. They are special. They're doing special things, and we're getting, what is it, 6th time in 8 years. We got Duncanville, North Shore. North Shore has won 3 of the 5 that have already been played. This game may not have the same kind of superstar power, but again, you talk about Duncanville and Allen, and I said, man, I think Allen's going to be able to help or be able to get to the sweeps that they do. I guess I just underestimated that speed because they couldn't get to the sweeps. Yancey was still taking off from the snap. When Yancey's behind center, you know what's about to happen. Same thing with Theus. If you can't stop it, it's because they got world record track speed over there. I don't know what North Shore is going to do with them, but it should be an interesting game because I saw North Shore game 1. They played South Oak Cliff. I will see them game 16 as they play Duncanville. I'll see the improvement. I think the best thing that happened to North Shore this year was losing to South Oak Cliff in that first game. They got them to regroup. It got Caleb Maryland to say, I'm not just going to step in here and be the next great quarterback. I got to work at it. He's worked at it. He's one of the best in the state right now.
I think when I look at this, I still stand behind almost everything I said last week about the Allen game, that Duncanville, and I'm going to give Coach Lavender, the offensive coordinator over at Duncanville, a lot of credit because he's got to try to make a salad out of all of these parts. You got all of the speed, you got all of this incredible talent, But again, you got Rivers who's your QB2. You got some mismatched pieces. You had your running back who got out, Joe McKinney. He's back now. I don't know if he's at full strength, but Duncanville is trying to figure out consistency, chemistry with all of these different parts. And this is where I don't think North Shore has that problem. They have been playing at a very high level for 16 weeks now, and they got that wake up call that from South Oak Cliff earlier. Then they got a mid-season wake up call when Summer Creek completely took them out, and it's been a different team. To beat Lake Travis the way they did is very similar to the way that Duncanville beat Allen. And I'm going to give Duncanville all the credit in the world. They manhandled Allen. I was watching that game in pieces, and Allen just looked like I've seen Allen several times this year, and it's like everybody got 3 inches smaller. And it's not because, that we had Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as our Christmas present. It's because Duncanville was just that incredible, and I underestimated that skill. I don't think that's going to be the case for North Shore. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. That North Shore has got the pieces. They're just not as heralded as some of the other ones, or at least we don't hear about them up here. Their biggest thing is that Clear Springs transfer, Zaquan Nunn, that came in to play. It just clogs up the middle. Still could work in Duncanville's advantage because they don't really run up the middle anymore. They take it to the outsides. But the speed is there on both sides. They're so familiar with each other as programs. It's our middle game on Saturday. It's a 3:00 game. It should be interesting. I don't know. I'm still swinging towards Duncanville. I don't know why, but I am. And I know you're going North Shore, so there's our difference right here.
I'm going North Shore. To me, I feel like the difference is Caleb Maryland because, he remembers 2 years ago. He was a sophomore in that game. He's got a loss against Duncanville. He had to taste defeat against Lake Travis. They got that, or I guess it was Westlake last year. They got their Austin lick back, and now I think they're going to get their Duncanville lick back because Duncanville just doesn't have that one uniting player because it's a little bit of everything right now, and I don't like that because we're talking about Sarad Baker, we're going to be talking about Trey Wright, Caleb Maryland. There are these uniting forces. Duncanville doesn't have that. They had that in Denson, and then that happened.
I'm just going to bring that up, but you got to give Panthers a little bit of credit because they had to completely flip their offense late in the year and we don't even really talk about it. Usually that's the first time we talked about Denson in 4 or 5 weeks because had they have gone off the rails, we've been talking, well, Denson's not there. He should have took Uber instead of his mom's car. And now look where we're at here. But we don't even talk about them because they're still having their offense clicking in some way. Is that going to come into play in this game, do you think? Are they going to need to throw the deep ball like Maximus could?
I think that's part of the problem. And I think Allen never got to that point. Allen was a little bit too aggressive. There was a point where I thought Allen could have made it. They it was 17-6, and all of a sudden they had a blocked punt and they had a chance to score, and Duncanville locked that down. And I think if they would have maybe scored, maybe momentum would have started to avalanche. But then Duncanville just did what Duncanville did. Trenton Yancey, every time I was checking an update on that game, 30-yard run, 40-yard run, defensive stop. But I think North Shore is going to be able to go score for score. Remember Duncanville, I just keep thinking about those 2 games against Waxahachie. I mean, when they've got players that can go line up against them, they haven't looked great. And I feel like North Shore is going to have that.
What they have. Yeah, it definitely should be interesting. And the one I'm really looking forward to is Friday night. Defending champions of Smithson Valley against Frisco Lone Star. How did they get in this spot? They had no business being here, down 52-35 late in that game and 42-21 at one point against Toledo. You look up Smithson Valley, you talk about, hey, you know what? They got a great defense. They hang their hat on the defense. They got 4 shutouts in 7 games with 7 points or less. You know who else had a good defense? Toledo had a really good defense. 52 points later, they're hanging their hat up at their own house rack because it's over for them. I can't see me picking against Lone Star, and I'm not going to because their big 3 and one guy had a complete rest because Carice Hoyt really didn't have to do much on offense. I guess defensively he was out there all the time, but man, that game was 4 players. It was Tubbs to Finley, and it was Wright to Gross, and they were all those 4 guys alone were worth the price of admission.
It really was a phenomenal game. And I replayed this in my head several times. And what I said about it, if I had it all to do again, Ward, I would pick Aledo. And it's weird to say, and I feel like I have to try to explain this a little bit the way my brain processes things. I truly feel that was a pure upset. Like it was just the I don't know what you want to call
One
it.
time
just
out of 10 game,
the
right?
1 time out of 10 game. Because that game was everything I thought it would be. It was 42-21 at one point. I mean, I turned that game off because I was like, I've seen enough. Alito is dominating Lone Star. What I did not measure appropriately is Trey Wright's heart. Trey Wright's heart and will to win. His intangibles are what kept him in this game. And then we had almost that 1% ending where, again, you had to have everything perfect happen. They got to stop, and maybe you could say Alito should have gone for it there instead of punting it. And, if that would have happened, maybe they would have been able to extend the game out, get one more score and put it away. Those are valid arguments, but they got to stop. They got to score. They got an onside kick. They got to score. Those things, the lining up, it's like that Waxahachie and Cy Falls game. Was it Falls that they played? You remember?
No, they played Cy Ranch.
Cy Ranch. One of those Cy's. Everything had to go perfect for that to happen. Everything had to go perfect for Lone Star to win that game. But you know what? They've got all of these players, and they executed. Alito's defense is the best defense I've seen this year. And that didn't change in that game. Cooper Cyphers was ridiculous. He was in Trey Wright's wheelhouse all game. I mean, they were beat up. Like, they were beating them up on the line of scrimmage, and Lone Star did not give up. Lone Star persisted. They continued on and on and on. This is like a team of destiny right now. I can't see any narrative that you can give to say where Smithson Valley is going to win this game.
Yeah.
Lone Star's seen everything. Like, Lone Star's seen it all. They've done the comeback. They're the team of destiny. I can't even give you a Smithson Valley storyline at this point. Larry Hill, we've had Randy Allen. I mean, they've had legendary coaches they've already beat. I haven't watched all of the documentary. It's like,
I was going to say, tip of the cap to Mike Alexander. Boy, did he pick the right year to do a documentary.
Right year, right
on
time.
Freaking Lone Star, for crying out loud.
Every time it's on Victory Plus or whatever, and I'm getting just a little bit of thing. Coach Rayburn's talking about love. He's talking about we got to love each other more. We got to love more than the other team does. And that's coming across because they're not giving up. And when it's 2 or 3 scores down, they're not pointing at each other. They're not getting on each other. They're lifting each other up. They don't give up. And that's what they needed in that moment to get to that next level. And, tip of the cap.
And haven't played the greatest of defense, but there is one guy, Marcel Dominguez. He's got 19.5 sacks this year. So I don't know if he's getting them all against Frisco Memorial or whatever, but he's having a heck of a game.
And Jordan Deck been phenomenal.
And Jordan Deck too, absolutely. It's wild. A lot of these names that we've mentioned through this thing, we've mentioned Sherrod Baker, Trey Wright, Trenton Yancey. We're going to mention Landon Williams. They're all back next year. So get ready. If they've taken your breath away now, some of them still have 2 more years, right, Trey? Trey, are you there? And then other of us got 1 more year yet. We still got another year of these guys. So it's the well's not dry here in Texas. It never is, and it never will be. So I'm going Lone Star as well. All right, let's go to 5A Division II rematch. South Oak Cliff and Richmond Randle. Like I just mentioned, Richmond Randle has Landon Williams Callis, the Gatorade Player of the Year in Texas, over 7,000 yards already, and he still has a senior year going. But remember, they played him last year, and South Oak Cliff kind of stopped him. He was not that guy. He got 1 big runoff. It was the special teams that got him in that state final game. I don't know. I might swing this thing towards South Oak Cliff because of that. They know how to stop a player like that.
I'm going to go on a rant, Ward.
Go ahead.
In my head, I wanted to go on this probably earlier in our opening thing, but it's actually a good transition point right here because, if we've given coaches the business at times, and we got to give them their flowers when they've earned their flowers. Coach
Right.
Mathis, he's earned his flowers, and I've spoken about Alito's coach. I've spoken about Denton Ryan's coach. I've spoken about Samples when he had to kind of get over that hump, and he gets over that hump. We give him their flowers. Coach Todd, he had to get over that hump, and what he has done has been legendary. And I love the culture that South Oak Cliff has done. But I think it's also important to say, and this is where the South Oak Cliff kind of connection kicks in, that Riley Dodge now has kind of that hanging over him that he hasn't won the big one. And I feel like it's unfair to not mention that, because as great as what DeSoto has done, there's another team there, and South Oak and South Lake Carroll had a legendary team, 8 D1 starters, and they could not win a state championship. And I feel
where
like
they led 37-21.
Yeah, where they led by 16 in that game. And I feel like if you're trying to pull a lesson out of what happened this year to get better, and Riley Dodge, he is always learning. You got to look at South Oak Cliff. And the reason you got to look at South Oak Cliff is they've had to deal with adversity. They've had to deal with highs and then lows. And what have they done is they've scheduled the hardest non-district schedule you can schedule to get them ready for this. I look at what Richmond Randle is scheduled. They weren't ready. They did not realize they were going to be there. South Oak Cliff, bring everybody. You look at what South Lake Carroll has brought in their non-district schedules, like Midland and El Paso Eastland or something. That didn't get them ready. Riley Dodge, you need to go schedule Matter Day or Don Bosco. You got to find somebody who is going to challenge you and give you that loss, because I feel like that was the factor. Going back to that Mathis interview, one of the things that he said was telling. He said South Lake had not had to play 48 minutes this year. We had to play 48 minutes. We knew we could go 48 minutes. We just needed to take them there. And I feel like that's absolutely a factor. And that's what South Oak Cliff has really hung their hat on, is that we know we have this district and we got to get through it. And it's just management. We got to stay healthy. But it's going to be those 3 games that we're going to schedule at the beginning of the year: the North Shore, the Duncanville, the Longview, the traveling. We're going to do it all. And who knows what they're going to do next year. I hear Alito might be in the mix for that. We have to do that, because that's what's going to get us ready for week 16 and week 17. And it certainly has. And there has been nothing that South Oak Cliff has done wrong. But when I look at what Richmond Randle has done, they've done nothing wrong either. They have played the perfect season, but they just weren't ready for it. It's like South Lake Carroll. Richmond Randle reminds me of South Lake Carroll. They've done nothing wrong. They're well coached. They've got players. South Oak Cliff has had to overcome adversity. South Oak Cliff has had to taste defeat. South Oak Cliff has had to figure things out. And I just feel like Richmond Randle hasn't had to do this. Coach Ward, Coach Todd, Coach Spencer, the core has been looking at this game for 17 weeks, at 365 days to get their lick back. I cannot see South Oak Cliff losing this game twice. Last year, I think South Oak Cliff was the better team. Richmond Randle played the better game. I don't think that's going to happen again this year. So for all the reasons I've said, the culture, the coaching, so I cannot see South Oak Cliff losing this game.
Well, in defense of Randle, the school just opened 3 years ago, so they're not going to schedule themselves a crazy schedule when they don't even know what the heck they got going on here. But if it happens again, this next realignment, and they schedule Aldine High School or Knick-Knack, Paddywhack University, then that'll be a problem. There'll be a nice little battle in the linebacking core too. A couple Big 12 linebackers out there with Jamarian Phillips over there for South Oak Cliff, Pac-Man Dominguez over there going to Baylor, or he's going to TCU. Phillips is going to Baylor. Pac-Man over there at Randle. That'll be a nice little contest. But there's a lot of weapons there for South Oak Cliff with Trotter, Moten, Williams behind center. If they can contain Landon Williams-Callis and have to make their quarterback Tyler Skrabanek make the plays, that's going to be a 3 check mark on the advantage part. For
Fix the kickoff coverage. Do not kick it deep.
Yes. Keep it away from them speedy fellas out there. All right, let's go 4A Division I here. We got Stephenville going against Kilgore. Stephenville was in another epic game last week against Salina. They had a botched flea flicker that resulted in Salina going downfield and getting a touchdown. Boy, that thing was a mess from the beginning. And then they had Salina just slow it down. We're going to go ahead and get this game-winning field goal. Where that kick was off, giving them like 30 seconds or maybe 45 seconds to go down and get their field goal. And like you had mentioned in the warm-up, a backup kicker kicks it. A game-winning field goal. That's one thing to be a backup kicker to kick a game-winning field goal, but to be 46 yards for a high school kid, he might want to hop over the first-string guy and be the main kicker.
Brighton DeVivo, just a great football name for a great experience. And Stephenville, like you said, they made a lot of mistakes in that game. Like it was in my Friday night around the horn coverage. I stayed on that game quite a bit, and it felt like Stephenville just could not get out of their own way. Their defense was great; they're able to cross the line, and then they would make a mistake. That botched flea flicker was like crazy, and then Trot had interception in the first quarter. Like second straight game. That's how they got behind on West Plains. They got to play a clean game against Kilgore. Kilgore started their season losing to Carthage, and then they've kind of gotten it figured out. Kilgore got blown out last year at this round, week 17 at AT&T Stadium against Salina. This half of the bracket is better than the Kilgore half of the bracket. Stephenville has just got to play their best game, and they can't make the mistakes, because I keep seeing these turnovers. If they play a great game, they're going to win this game handily, kind of like what Salina did last year. If they make the mistakes, I feel like Kilgore is good enough to stay in it. They've got athletes, they've got speed, but they don't got a great front seven. Their secondary is going to be an issue there. They're going to have to find some wrinkles and ways to kind of try to figure out how they're going to get these one-on-one matchups, because Stephenville's going to be able to exploit them in certain ways. The size advantage is going to go to Stephenville. Can Kilgore's speed on the edges, can they figure that out, and can they force a couple of mistakes? Stephenville should be a 2-score favorite.
Let Zyler McClendon run that thing. Boy, he reminded me so much of Eric Dickerson, just because he runs that straight up style where your back is straight, perfect posture, and he's gone down the sidelines there. He had a great game that week. All right, 4A Division II, Carthage and West Orange Stark. I will let you take it away, because I don't know a lot about it. You've seen Carthage live.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the state championship 3 weeks ago in McKinney. It wasn't in Arlington. When Carthage beat Texarkana Pleasant Grove, Carthage should be able to name their score. It's not going to. It'll be a get work done game for you. Carthage should win this game by 4.
It's the middle game too, isn't it? It's a 3 p.m. Yeah, let's get some stuff done while that thing's going on. All right, 3A Division I. We're back to DFW with the Grandview Zebras, who play a heck of a defense, which they're going to need to do against Yoakum, who put up 70-something last week. This looks like a close game. What do you think about this one?
Well, they haven't been playing defense all year. That's kind of the problem with them, is when you start to look at kind of how the season progressed for Grandview, they're giving up 40s in the playoffs. They were that 2-point conversion away from not even being in this place. Commerce should have probably beat them at 1:45 in the morning that night, and they keep finding ways to advance. Yoakum beat Columbus. And to me, it's like Ric Flair theory. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Yeah. And when you look at these region in 3A Division I, that's where the power is. Columbus, Yoakum, Cuero, these kinds of teams are where the power is. Unfortunately for Grandview, I feel like this half of the bracket is just a little bit weaker. I hate to say it, because I love Grandview. I want to be a DFW homer, but it sure looks like Yoakum's 3 scores. That side of the bracket, whoever came out of that was going to be 3 scores better than this half of the bracket. I feel like we're down over here. I mean, we don't have a powerhouse. Grandview is certainly flawed in many ways. Yoakum, they lost to Columbus, but they got their lick back, and they overcame that in the playoffs. And then they put up 70. So we talk about style points. They put up 70 against Lolano. So I feel like they've given me the style points. I can't see Grandview stopping it. I love the Grandview. I love the Gent story. I love Blue Edwards, just an incredible player. I just don't see it for the Zebras. I'm cheering for you. Don't see it, though.
All right, and in 3A Division II, we talked about how Wall Gunner was probably going to be that state title game, but Wade Newton puts up points. They probably aren't going to do it against the Wall squad, though, huh?
They might. I mean, Newton certainly gave those foul points against East Bernard, and watching them, they are speedy. So, watching Wall struggle against Gunner gives me a little bit of a pause about this. Can Wall slow down the speed of Newton? I've moved this from an 80-20 Wall to kind of a 60-40 Wall. So it's certainly not going to be something I'm going to have to do some analysis for Gossett Pick'em. I might go Newton late to try to pick up one more win, because I think Wall is probably going to be most everybody's favorite. But Wall has got Landon York, an incredible quarterback. I think Wall should be the favorite, but Newton is fast. They're speedy. Again, I got to watch that game they got to play on Thursday night. I was impressed. I was impressed watching Newton. I was like, this is a better team than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they put a hurting on them East Bernard boys out of the Houston area, but it happens what it happens. You'll definitely have to take the lead here in 2A Division I, because I don't know much about Joaquin or Hamilton, except that there's a heck of a play.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's playoff Joaquin. This should be Honey Grove right now. We should be talking about another DFW area school and being like, man, we have never had a world where we've had 2 DFW state champions, and now we have a change. Joaquin ruined it. Joaquin as a third place team. Last year they made it to the state semifinals as a fourth place team. This year they've made it to the state finals as a third place team. They didn't even win their own district. They didn't even get second in their own district, but they got their licks back. I'm not picking against Joaquin at any point. They're going to be an underdog again, but Hamilton didn't really impress me against West Texas. So I think Joaquin, just the way they run that offensive style, the way they came back against Refugio, I mean, they feel like they are a team of destiny.
They feel like they're unstoppable. And then our final DFW team, 2A Division II, Munster against Shiner. They played last year, and Casey Carney scored, 6 touchdowns, something like that. He was all over the place. Casey's back again, but Shiner's back, and they got a chip on their shoulder. They've already taken down the leading rusher of all time, Keegan Ash, and now they're ready to come after Munster.
It's crazy because in this playoff, we talk about being the best player on the field and how that's happened. And Alito couldn't have an answer for Trey Wright, and Southlake didn't have an answer for Sherrod Baker, but Shiner had an answer for Keegan Ash, and they shut him down. I mean, he got some yards. He got to break the record, but Shiner held them after averaging 50, 60, 70 points. Like they got 8, I think, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 6, something like that, 8.
And Munster against Groover, Munster was lucky to win that game against Groover. They had a kickoff. They had one big play.
Fumble
Groover,
recovery.
Yeah, shut them down. They did not have any right to win that game. I'm not picking against Shiner after how I saw them shut it down. And having this game last year, that game was a 50-50 game, and that was with a solid senior class with Munster. They did bring their quarterback back, but they lost a lot of that infrastructure. Shiner's brought everything back. I'm picking Shiner, unfortunately, for my DFW love here.
For your DFW brethren. Oh, well. Speaking about DFW, we're also going to have some Gordon highlights at 6-man action. If you guys saw the story we ran last week, how they're kind of recovering from that tornado that hit in May, and then they got the field back up, and they're all rallying behind them. So we'll have a camera out there for that one. We'll show you a few 6-man action. How do you think about that, Dixie?
So some highlights here. So what I'm hearing you say is, you, as I hate Malakoff, I hate Beaumont. We're not going to pay attention to Beaumont in our Houston show. You're putting Palo Pinto's own Gordon on the DFW Inside High School Sports. Am I hearing that correctly?
You're hearing it right, buddy. But I thought
it's not even down the country roads. It's like on the TV show.
On the TV show. I think I've explained it to you before. Once teams start getting eliminated, my reach gets longer. I start turning into Plastic Man. If Beaumont had some good enough teams to make it to state, I'd put them in there. But they don't. And we got Gordon, so I'm going to reach. I'm going to reach for him. I'm going to throw him on there.
Not the big country, but the DFW's digging for wisdom zone.
There
Gordon.
you go. Gordon,
we keep talking about Gordon. They beat Plano West in basketball with a great story. They're the story generators. Yeah, they're the story generators that keep on going. The girls are great. The boys are great. It's just a state championship pedigree program.
Well, we have a heck of a program here, and this is our last show of the year.
Season finale.
Somebody told me it was the end of an era, but
it is the end of this era.
It's the end of this era. Who told me that? Somebody told me that. Do you want me to throw my hat? I'm not going to do it. Somebody told me it's the end of an era, and it's not. It's the building of a dynasty. We're going to be back next year. We're going to be back in the summer giving you some preview action, and week by week, we'll let Diggs beat me up in high school fantasy. We'll break down all the games. Diggs will be tossing flowers. He'll be beating people down with shovels. All the same, we'll be bringing it back next year.
I might get a shovel against how many teams? Like, I feel like the shovel is the ultimate compliment at the end of the day, because there have been several teams who've gotten the shovel, who've used that to hit me back with it. Like, if you're going to hit somebody with a weapon, make sure it's bigger than yours, because I'm getting it back. And Ward, this is a realignment year. This week we're very excited. We're going to get the news about where the cutoffs are. Last week we got the numbers. We got to find out that Red Oak is going to be a 6A team, some of the big storylines. And now we're going to find out probably the official numbers this week as part of the state championship week. So somewhere around February, kind of make sure you're checking into all the social media. Never quit watching the show, because, you have to keep
52
going.
Weeks. 52 weeks. Yep.
I go away, but Ward doesn't. But stay on, because you never know when you're going to see Diggs on. because
Bring him back for a realignment show, man. That'll be a fun show. I always enjoy the realignment shows. Well, coaches come in saying, "What was the UIL thinking? Why do I have to drive to East Texas? This is ridiculous. I got to play Malakoff. Nobody likes Malakoff." We have coaches
certainly
saying
not
that.
you.
We have coaches saying that.
DFW zone.
Oh, brother. All right, Diggs, it's been a fun year, man. We'll see you in February. Everybody gets their state championship game. It is more value than you can possibly think of. 3 games for the price of 1. It's awesome. All right, Diggs, I'll talk to you later, my man.